Hey, I'm here to give you a little tutorial on how exactly to get the full robotics server started up. So we've been working on bridging our actual Unity platform to ROS so that way we can communicate with the actual robot remotely. So if you go ahead and I have WSL installed on my computer. So if you open up WSL, and you should navigate to basically wherever you've stored the project from GitHub. And there's a folder called Web Robotics, which basically contains everything that's needed for the networking side and the backend side. So just go ahead and open up Web Robotics. Now, of course, you should have ROS noetic installed and a couple of packages, roslib.js, which is a JavaScript library to communicate back and forth using JSON, and ROS Bridge, which actually uses WebSockets to connect to ROS Core. So the basic thing here that I built is it's called RoboServer.js. It's a super simple, like 75 lines of code server, and right now it takes test data, but I haven't fully implemented everything else. But you start up your server. So let's go ahead and start this up. So you gotta have Node installed. Let's see, I might be using Node 18 and Node 10. What's NPM version I am? Oh, that's not a valid command. Okay, anyways, so you're gonna go ahead and start up RoboServer. All right, you're gonna go ahead and start up. So as it's starting up, you'll notice it takes a second, and you're about to get an error message, right? So this is an error message from WebSocket, basically meaning that it tried to look for the ROS Bridge server, but it could not. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go here. We're going to make sure you have ROS Bridge installed. I'm going to do ROS launch, ROS Bridge. We're going to, I believe it's server, then ROS Bridge, WebSocket.launch. Right, you're going to wait a second, and this is going to start on port 9090. Now that we've got this WebSocket going, we're going to go ahead and start up that server again. And you're going to give it a second, and it's going to pop up that a connection has been established. Right, so ignore the first message, but the server is running on port 8000. That's the port that I've chosen, and it is connected to the WebSocket server, and as you can see, we have a client that just connected to this WebSocket. So what we're going to do is we can open up here, and just to kind of test to make sure it's open, so we can go to localhost, not 3000. Sorry, that's usually my default 8000. All right, and that's just root. I believe I have a simple response message whenever you navigate to get page. Yep, so we're active, we can view it here. That's good. So we're going to go back to root and just close out of that for a second. So now what's next is if we go ahead and open up, let's see, if we go ahead and open up Firebase script here, which I have converted, used to be for Firebase, but now it's using my own solution. So I've converted some of this data, some of this old scripting to Node. Ignore the comments, but just to kind of walk through on how this works. So this is, you can ignore this part. This is going to be used in the future, but it's not implemented quite yet. But the first thing that I do is on start, I start a coroutine called connection established. Using the WW form library, the legacy library for Unity, I create a web form, add a field called connection, and I just give it a string true. I set up a new request, and I'm going to post it to server name. Server name I've defined as localhost, and I'm posting this data to the /git sublink. And then we're going to wait for the return for the web request, and once it's returned, we're going to print the result, basically if it actually connected or not. This is what I use to basically establish an initial connection to Unity. So if we go here, you're going to see what I've done on the back end here. So app posts. So for the get URL, I'm gonna be listening for requests sent there. So if the body.connection, and remember that this connection field right here, if we go and we look at this again, this connection that you saw is this field that I added in this form. So if it's not undefined, meaning that we actually sent a request with connections, aka this was an initial request sent, then I log using a body parser library and Express. I log the request body. I log that field to make sure that I'm actually seeing that data, and then I log that I'm now sending the data to ROSBridge, right? So ROSBridge is that connection that we set up that's running on port 9090. So you can see up here that we have this thing called ROS, which is WebSocket. This is localhost 9090. And you're not going to run into any errors here. Compatibility-wise, with sending stuff from Windows to Windows Subsystem for Linux. So it's really good. So establish that connection, define that URL. Then what I end up doing is I create a new ROSLib message. The documentation is a little bit of a pain, so you kind of have to refer to ROS's documentation, because there's very little documentation, or very little good documentation on ROSLib.js. But basically what I do is the string message, the SCD message string for ROS has a data field. So I just define that as a string. Successfully sent the boolean rec.body connection from Unity, right? So as you see here before, that rec.body connection is what is in the www form that I sent from Unity. So let's go ahead and start up this, right? So as you saw in the script, this coroutine is ran on start. So we should see output here on our node server. Let's go ahead and start this up. All right, there you go. So you see true connection established to Unity. That's this message here, right? So this is actually what has been sent from Unity. This isn't just a string. This is a string that I have sent from Unity. So this is the little data field that I've been using to track and make sure that this data is actually getting through from one step to the next. So now we can open up. This is anywhere, of course. So we're going to go ROS topic, and ROS topic has a couple of different options. So we're going to use ROS topic.list, and this is going to list active topics. So I have created this topic in here called Unity incoming, right? And now that this data is sent, this topic has been established. So you can see that this topic is now actually running. So now what you're going to do is you're going to do ROS topic listen to Unity incoming. ROS topic echo, sorry. / Unity incoming. Perfect. All right, so you're going to see there's nothing there yet. That's just because I'm going to rerun it real quick. You're going to see here. I'm going to rerun it. And there you go. So we are now sending a form from Unity to my node server. We handle that request to the node server, and using the WebSocket, the ROSBridge WebSocket, we send that data to the WebSocket, which then translates that into a ROS command from JSON, and then prints it out locally in ROS core. So next steps are to actually take this data, take real data, format that in a way that the robot wants it, and then supply it to Canova's API, or we can just set up a listener on Canova's side and listen for new movements. So there you go.